starting with the Telegraph and the EU on the trade war with Trump.
Yes, it's the biggest story at the moment. It's causing quite a lot of alarm among people of a nervous disposition.
Yeah.
I don't know how seriously to take it. I don't know whether it is still saber-rattling or... I mean, these executive orders are coming in now at a rate of knots. I had thought he might be taking a negotiating position, but it looks as if China and Canada and Mexico have already been bit by some fairly...
Yeah, really surprisingly hard. So China with 10%, and this is any trade with China,
yeah.
You know, is subject to a 10% tariff when it comes in.
Yeah.
And Canada is 25%.
25%, and Mexico as well. And they do, of course, America is dependent on Canada for quite a lot of its oil. So it's not simply a one-way drift of goods and services. Their biggest balance of trade surplus is with China, and they have some levelling up to do there if that's what they want to do. Trump has said there may be economic pain to endure as a result, but he's willing to do that in order to usher in a new golden age, which does sound a bit like steel underpants, profit, you know, but still. I think the idea is that at some point the prices will go up because of the tariffs. But, of course, if the tax revenues that they get from the tariffs enable them to reduce income tax and sales tax, then that will level things out and the standard of living might not be hurt that badly. But in terms of Europe, the EU is the second biggest trade surplus that America has, but the UK is not. The UK actually has is probably the only developed economy with which America has pretty much an exact balance of trade, but
so
very slightly
he won't be looking to hammer the UK, which is just as well.
Let's find out. Yeah, let's find out what our special agreement with them really is about, shall we? It might be an advantage that we're not in the EU right now, because if he's going to punish the EU and we're out of it, then we should be taking advantage of that right now and working with it.
It could single-handedly make Brexit look like the most genius decision we've ever made.
Yes, yes. I mean, not planned that way, but yes, take advantage of it. Canada is almost certainly it's a form of blackmail, isn't it? He wants Canada to come in as an extra state to America, so he's laying this down. And the war that's about the tariff war that's about to start is pretty much what he wants. I mean, Trump likes it. I think it's very much his way to cause a lot of disruption. He doesn't upset the apple cart. He's messing up the whole orchard this time, and the world is feeling it. And everyone's looking to whether it will make America great again. I don't know, but I do know that right now, everyone is staring at America to see what's going to happen next. And how to go about it. So
the trouble with this is economics. Global trade isn't a zero-sum game. So if you put tariffs on stuff from Canada, you can't naturally assume that you're going to be able to make the same stuff for the same, with the same efficiencies and with the same, same price in the US. And also, global supply chains are really interconnected. So if you've got parts of the supply chain being hammered like this, it's really going to gum up and could tank the entire world economy. In which case, it won't matter if we're out of it.
It could tank their own economy as well. I mean, it drives internal prices up with tariffs and so on. I think it depends what an overall plan is.
I think what might happen is that he may have underestimated the potential for a coalition among all the nations who are being hurt. I mean, BRICS already, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But, you could easily drive Mexico into... I mean, they would be happy to sign that up. It would be slightly demeaning for Canada to join BRICS, but, it's not out of the question.
I think the biggest mistake he's made is he's saying it's going to be spectacular and he should have gone with terrific. Why did he not say terrific? Have I got to do his writing for him?
It could hand his enemies a win. I mean, Trudeau can now blame... I mean, Canada's economy is tanking, and he can blame that now on Trump. And it seems... I don't know, it just seems a weird thing to do right when Canada's swinging to the right and, becoming more aligned with Trump, becoming more aligned with America, to then alienate Canada like this.
Yeah, but then let's see what happens when Trudeau finally steps down and gets replaced, and whether that will change or not.
Which he's promised to do, but we'll see if he does. His dad didn't. We've got the Daily Mail, struggling business... Oh, no, sorry, we've got the Times now, Kieran.
Do you want the Times?
The Times.
OK, let's...
French tell UK to eat humble pie.
French tell UK to eat humble pie, and unfortunately we haven't got a PM to tell them where to stick their humble pie, which would be a useful move at the moment. It's a terrible idea to be going... apparently there was a poll the other day, I didn't see the figure, I think it was like 60% or 65% of British people want to get back into the EU, which is... It was quite a large figure, but it would be terrible to do it right now. We'd be tail between our legs, we'd have very poor choices, they'd have all the power, and really, at the very least, we need to see what is happening now, the tariffs we were just talking about and so on.
So you're saying we need to start the empire again?
Sorry?
We need to start the empire again. We need to take over. What did we have?
I just think we're looking really weak right now. We're going to China, trying to cry out a bit of money from them and anything that can, and of course cozying back up to the EU. And there's no power to it, no strength.
Yeah.
There's no pride in it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think, you know, as much as some people might be regretting Brexit, they're more regretting the fact that we didn't get Brexit.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, yes, that's true. And I do also think an awful lot of people think that Brexit is why we're experiencing economic pain, when actually it isn't. There's an awful lot of other more immediate causes of the economic pain.
Yeah.
The enormous debt which we incurred because of how we chose to respond to COVID, that's one of them. Obviously, net zero is vast. Obviously, the war in Ukraine is another one. A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe Brexit caused it, maybe we could undo that, because it feels like a thing that we could go back and address, you know. I don't think it would solve any of our problems. There is not an enormous amount of growth going on in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to say the EU is so fragmented right now as well, and it looks like it could all break apart any time, anyhow, so...
And they're swinging to the right as well. I mean, the way I look at Europe now is I want to be back in. So we're aligned with all these wonderful right-wing parties.
Alternative for England.
That's what we need.
Absolutely.
And talking of Russia, so the Russians are suspected of hacking into Keir Starmer's personal email.
God, that must have been dull for them.
Even for a Russian bureaucrat, I think that would have been...
I'm sure this is the right one. It's his name. Yeah, very good. I don't know whether there is anything to be discovered at this point, but at least it's nice to know that he's being kept on his toes. The main thing, of course, on the Times front page is Daniel Craig, who, as we say, has lost all of his James Bond physique.
Yeah.
And is now sort of presenting as a left-wing French intellectual.
Yeah, I saw that picture and I thought this must be an Italian fashion magnate.
Yeah.
He's about 75.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Daniel Craig.
He's younger than me. He's younger than me and looks older than me.
Please,
so he's going to be like, my name's...
Are we back in the ring? We could be back in the ring.
Please let us know in the comments in your say if you think Kerry looks better than Daniel Craig.
Don't answer it.
The white tux look, definitely.
in that jacket, I think you could get away with it. You could be the next James Bond.
Thank you. I'll take your vote.
And moving on, we've got the eye with, and again, Russia with the threat from Russian missile attacks.
Yes, an Iron Dome. Well, I mean, I don't know, it's got a catchy title, hasn't it? There is only one Iron Dome, as far as I know. That is the one in Israel, right?
Yep.
Which is, I think, essentially an American construct, isn't it? I believe.
Like Israel.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, I don't know. It's a. I don't know how seriously. Your joke in the lead-in was pretty much on the nose. I don't think that's where the most serious trouble comes from. The idea of being rained down by missiles. We've got problems within the country at the moment. That's the serious threat.
We can't stop a small boat.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
We can't stop a small boat. What are we going to do with an Iron Dome right now?
Put the nuke at Dingley and blow up our beach.
I know. We need to be putting money into our armed forces, full stop. I mean, the Iron Dome is an amazing system. It's really powerful, but it's very, very expensive to run, you know.
Yeah.
You need, I think it's like 3 missiles just to take down 1 missile or more.
Yeah.
And, it costs a fortune to run. So, and also, you can do it. You've got to remember, Israel's tiny. It could fit into the UK 11 times over.
Yeah.
Right.
So how are you going to have a missile system of the same power?
Maybe have one just for London. I mean, the rest of the country. London and the Brighton corridor.
Let's see what our viewers think of this.
I guess the argument for a UK Iron Dome. I mean, in Israel, they're shooting down very cheap rockets and huge numbers of them. So there's an asymmetric thing. Whereas these would be just
not the ones that came from Iran. Not the Iranian ones.
Yeah, but compared to a nuclear missile, compared to an intercontinental.
Oh, I see. So now you want an Iron Dome for nukes, do you?
So yeah, I mean, nukes do a bit more damage than Hamas's things that they make out of a Pringles can.
We should have a zinc galvanised dome. That would be more appropriate to Britain's level of tech.
It's an actual dome, a really slippery one. Put butter on it.
But you're right, the Hamas rockets are pretty shoddy.
Yeah.
They're sort of fired out of
but there's been quite a few cruise missiles aimed at, hundreds over the last few months. So they've taken down most of those as well.
Yeah.
So it does work. It's a good system, but I think we need to strengthen our borders in so many other ways before we start looking at something.
And the worry is that as funding and resources get focused on Russia, we're not focusing on ISIS and not focusing on radical Islam. And as we've seen, we've still got a lot of that, and it's growing in the UK, just to worry you. Let's have some more front pages. We've got the Daily Mail with struggling businesses to pay the price of Starmer's Brexit reset. The Daily Mirror has 1,600 crimes linked to OnlyFans. That's the website, not just fans. And the Daily Star has squeaky blinders. I think that's about a girl farting. We'll hopefully get to that. But first, let's look at struggling businesses to pay the price of Starmer's Brexit reset, Kiri.
Yeah, it doesn't look like this government really do understand business very well. Certainly not showing that they do. And every single decision... there was another story we jumped, which is kind of related on the Telegraph about the crusade to make work from home the norm for Britain will be the work from home place.
Right.
It's kind of we've given up on getting people back to the workplace now. And of course, with the national insurance on companies, we should be doing everything we can, if we're talking about growth, to help startups, to help small businesses grow and be able to, just experiment and do these things. But instead, it's becoming more and more difficult. So this is where struggling businesses pay price of Starmer's Brexit reset. So they're trying to get involved in the EU's net zero policy, totally unnecessarily, because the beauty of being out of Europe is we don't have to do that.
Exactly.
But we are doing it anyway, which is why, I don't know. The net zero thing is such an intensely driven idea that it won't listen to any arguments against it or notice what's going on in the rest of the world and how relevant it is to that. So.
And a lot of it looks like a centrally controlled economy being brought in, under the excuse of net zero. Yeah,
I think so. There's no... obviously, we're not a huge industrial manufacturing base anyway now, but any kind of manufacturing, any kind of intensive industry is essentially impossible when you're paying 4 times for the energy what is the norm in the OECD. I suppose working from home is one solution to that. Firms can just stop putting on the heating, the lights. You all just work from home and there's a big office somewhere with a flickering monitor on the centre. But it's not a healthy sign. And it is infuriating when you hear Starmer and Reeve saying that growth is their main priority. Yeah. You cannot have growth as a priority and make your fuel the most expensive in the world. Yeah. Those two things have never gone together. There has never been a successful country or regime or civilization that has ever willingly and knowingly worsened its access to cheap fuel. Yeah. I mean, that is the absolute sine qua non of advanced technology.
Yeah. But you don't know whether just repeating the word growth over and over again will have some kind of... It's like some magic effect, isn't it? The budget went horribly wrong as it was... And none of the things they're talking about at the moment, in third runways, everything, it all looks desperate. Going to China and so on, it all looks desperate because none of it was covered in the budget. Yeah. And this is all a reaction to something that's not worked.
Yeah, but let's quickly squeeze this one in. The 1,600 crimes linked to OnlyFans. So this, OnlyFans has come to prominence recently because of Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue.
Yes. I looked up this story online because the front page carries almost no information about it at all, just a wild assertion. And it sounds like a very shoddy piece of reporting, to be honest. I mean, I'm no fan of OnlyFans, but...
what is it?
But it's... what is it? Yeah, honestly, hardly know.
What's pornography?
But it is, for instance, they're saying 1,600 crimes are linked to OnlyFans. Then they say there are, for instance, 10 cases in which people who perform on it, women who undress or perform sex acts or whatever, were forced to do so by their partners. 10 out of this supposed 1,600. 70 of them are suspicions of revenge porn being broadcast through OnlyFans. The vast majority of them seem to be just cases, criminal cases in which OnlyFans was mentioned, such as he was watching OnlyFans when she came in and found him and was furious, and so she smacked him over the head with a saucepan. Right. I mean, it is literally that kind of level of, second or third order. So I think it's an absolute trash story as far as I can see, and it's enough for me to sign up.
Oh, it'd be interesting.
I don't know how the OnlyFans thing works. Does it go through any kind of corporation or whatever, or can anyone just set it up themselves?
I believe you. There are some people who use it to... I think some people perform comedy on it. There's some musicians
I've heard that,
but
they just film it and put it straight out.
They've tried, I think they've tried to push towards comedy, but I think mostly people just want to see naked women. Anyway, still to come, Labour's shady overseas funding, Trump goes to war, but just economically, and Starmer offers another carrot to illegal immigrants. It's almost as if he wants them to come. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m. Well, you know I like an auction.
Yes,
And I've bought some strange things at auction before you have as well, haven't you, Eamon?
Yeah, well, Ellie would throw this in the bin that you're coming up with now.
How about this? Admiral Lord Nelson's hair.
No.
Cut. I mean, is this a bit spooky? Cut as he lay dying during the Battle of Trafalgar, so someone's gone, oh, we'll just have a little bit of that there. In 1805, is on sale in Jersey, and it's a little cup. How much would you pay for the hair?
No, nothing. It would go in the bin, straight in the bin.
What, even? What? Nelson? That's very disrespectful to the British culture and heritage.
I think it's disrespectful that he lay there dying and someone thought, we'll take a quick strip
Well,
of hair.
maybe they just had, maybe they thought, you know, because there's obviously the famous painting, isn't there, of the Battle of Trafalgar. Maybe they thought, we'll give him a quick haircut, and then they kept their £15,000.
No
15 grand.
Where's
for a
the
lock of
hair come from? What part of the body?
His
is the
head,
hair from?
Eamon.
Well, it could be his underarm. I don't know. You know, it depends.
You would
All right,
let me have a little look.
You would bid
It's very
more.
curly. I think it's his head.
Oh,
It's his head. What?
You would
From
bid
his
more
head.
for his head than, say, his underarm
Well, I think so. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
or anywhere else.
I would hope so. A little less whiffy there, the head hair.
It's-
And there it is. And it's in a little pot.
No.
And the only way you can probably find out is if you DNA test it, I guess. It's definitely his.
Whoever pays for that is bonkers.
Well,
That's creepy.
I was
Really
seriously tempted to make a bid for a toupee, not for me, but as worn by John Wayne.
John
in
Wayne's wig.
Yeah.
Why?
Wow.
Why?
Well, why I didn't get it was my wife said to me, that is not coming into the house.
Well, she's right. She's right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now, and after complaining about overseas funding in right-wing British politics, Labour are accused of taking lots of shady funding from the European Union, Simon.
Yes, I have tried quite hard to untangle this. I've got a feeling, again, I don't want to say it's a non-story. A non-story. But I don't think it's going to be like quite the bombshell that they want to rattle Keir's thug-like booties that he was wearing on that building site earlier. It's 30 grand, which has come through something called the Foundation for European Progressive Studies, which sounds like a very dodgy organisation. That in itself is the think tank of the Party of European Socialists, and they have had a connection with the Fabian Society, which is, of course, a very ancient and august institution. Used to be George Bernard Shaw and Beatrice and Sidney Webb and the Bloomsbury Group and so on.
Yeah.
And that has found its way into creating a pathways to power discussion for Labour in early 2024. So, I don't know.
This is like a think tank funding another think tank.
Yeah, there were two think tanks sitting next to each other in the same building at one point.
But think tanks are so intertwined with political parties now that
that's true. Well, the
totally.
Fabian Society
they didn't
is
really
Labour's.
think this one through very well, did they? Because it's come back on them. But it's, do you know what? This is one of those things. It's wrong, but it's a minor scandal. It goes out into all the other scandals and sort of adds to them and so on that the Labour Party has had in a very short space of time. But
and particularly when they're complaining.
We're talking about £30,000. It's not enough to have
particularly when they're
changed an election.
complaining about funding coming in for reform. They're saying, oh, Elon Musk is giving money to Nigel Farage or whoever, and and they say that's election interference, and then you see money coming in to Labour think tanks from overseas?
I think the big fear at the moment is that it is particularly from the European socialists, and so it's trying to kind of create a sense that Starmer is already mentally rejoining the EU. I don't know whether they'll make that stick, but I suspect it won't be much of a fine, to be honest.
Well, we've got the Sun now, and Keir Starmer has listened to people's concerns about illegal migrants and completely ignored them. He's making the rules easier for them, Kerry.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying before. I think Starmer might not really want to stop the illegal immigration, you know. It's looking suspicious, isn't it? The headline is Soft Touch, Keir Starmer makes it easier for illegal migrants to become citizens as he's slammed for total capitulation. It's not total capitulation, it's just mostly capitulation, really. So this is the change of legislation. New legislation coming out and getting rid of the old legislation. Why, I don't know. It seems to be, instead of having a deterrent, we are going with, as we said before, incentives. So what it was before is, one of the things they've changed, which is good, is stopping lawyers from being able to sort of jump out as soon as the boats arrive. Hello, I'm a lawyer. Say you're gay, because that'll get you in, because you can't be sent back to your country. You have to prove you're gay, give me a kiss. And that's probably what the lawyers are really up to. And it's good they've stopped that. But instead, what they're saying is that you can now, you don't have to prove your age anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't say you're gay, but instead say you're a child. And the number of people just last year who were caught claiming to be children was 1,300 claiming to be under 18. Wow. And then they will get to go to schools. So they're going to be, we're going to have adults in schools with children in the UK claiming they're on, and they've changed the law so that you cannot now prove or test whether they actually are of the age they're claiming.
I remember that legislation when that came in at the time when the Tories introduced that, because a lot of the left-wing papers were, that's just disgraceful, you're treating these people like farm animals.
Yes.
They would do their dental records or, you know, or check to see how often they had to shave, you know, some fairly basic, you know. But there were these famous pictures, weren't there? Do you remember of clearly men in there at least early sitting in classrooms.
It was like the cast of 90210.
Yes,
you know, they were obviously all in their 30s.
But when we know that's a method they're using, we know it's a common method.
So why would you make it easier for them? It doesn't make sense. Let's move on to this one. In the Telegraph, and Angela Rayner has allegedly called Prince Andrew the N-word.
Yeah, and it's not that N-word. Are we supposed to say allegedly the whole way through this then?
Well, it's in a book. It's in a book, so
it's under a big umbrella of alleged.
It's under a massive umbrella, yeah, so this is in a book, and she apparently allegedly branded Prince Andrew can we say the word on?
A nonce.
Good. Simon's broken that barrier for us.
It's an old Shakespearean term, once for the nonce.
Yes. That's not actually where it comes from, but it's fine. So she branded him the nonce, not metaphorically. Oh, sorry, it was metaphorically, not with an actual branding iron, which would be more interesting. And really, this is about the book, which I believe is called Get In, and it's a new account of Sir Keir's leadership. So this is all about, it's by Patrick Maguire and Gabriel Pogrond, and it's really written before he becomes Prime Minister. It's really, there's a lot of gossip. People said this, people said that. I don't think it's very... That's the world of politics, isn't it? Everyone insults each other, and, you know, everyone who's insulted Trump would be a very long list now, including his VP, so...
And I think there's a difference between something you say in public, in an official capacity, and something you say, you know, in a car share with other comedians.
I would just say something defending Prince Andrew here, which is... it's fun, of course, in WhatsApp groups to refer to Prince Andrew in all sorts of disobliging ways.
Yeah.
But the reality is the woman over which she has always denied having any sexual relations anyway was 17 at the time. I don't think that amounts to what is essentially a slang term for a paedophile.
Yeah.
Angela Rayner herself was 16 when she gave birth.
Wow.
And as far as I know, she's never referred to the father of her child in those terms. So I don't think it's fair. I think she should get some, stabilise her standards.
And also, if anybody's allowed to do it, surely it should be a prince. You know what I mean?
What's the benefit of being a prince?
Yeah, exactly. He should bring back prima nocte. I believe.
She also allegedly said that...
Seigneur.
She said that Sir Keir is incapable of running a bath, let alone the opposition. But actually, I'm sure he runs baths pretty well, with lots of small boats in them that he likes to play with.
That can get from one side of the bath to the other side very easily. And obviously, Prince Andrew has denied all allegations, and I, for one, totally believe him. That's it for this section. Coming up, in the next section, Sadiq Khan says he's going to start using pronouns again, because nobody can tell if he's a man or a woman or a non-binary. Reform hammer Labour in the latest polls, and Labour's latest attempt to shift the obvious blame over Southport. See you in a moment.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's going to be increasingly wet and windy in the northwest, drier in the south before higher pressure builds midweek. Out there at the moment, we've got a higher pressure towards the east, a weak frontal system to the west, but a squeeze in the isobars across the northwest of Scotland, so windier here. Clearer skies, though, across the southeast of England through this evening and overnight, holding on to this cloud across much of England and Wales further towards the west, but turning windy across Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Outbreaks of rain here. Mild for most, but across the far southeast of England, that's where we could see a touch of frost come Monday morning. So to start Monday morning then, it's a cloudy picture across much of Scotland. Out towards the west though, this is where we'll see the strongest winds. Coastal gales are possible with heavy spells of rain moving through. Cloudy across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning with some patchy outbreaks of rain. Across much of England and Wales though, it should be a largely dry start. There'll be a few drizzly patches at times, but a cold start across the far southeast. So as we go through Monday then, generally staying cloudy across much of England and Wales, with the cloud gradually moving its way into East Anglia. Across the far northwest though, it is going to be turning increasingly unsettled, heavy spells of rain and very strong winds and coastal gales. Highs though coming up at around 10 or 11 degrees. So as we go through into Tuesday, that band of rain will continue to slowly move its way south and eastward, so affecting much of northern England into Wales and the southwest. Ahead of that, often cloudy but dry, but some sunnier spells developing across Northern Ireland and Scotland and turning colder too. Higher pressure then builds on Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll start to see the return of overnight frost and fog. Bye-bye.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners, and we've got a couple of comments from GB News Your Say. Glenn Edwards says, hopefully Dragonfire laser defence will negate the need for an Iron Dome. We should test it in Ukraine. Yeah, we totally should. This is British technology at its finest. It's a laser system that can shoot down drones and missiles. And Daniel Morgan says, Kerry looks like the Pink Panther. I'm not sure.
The full spectrum of views there.
That was exactly what I was going for. I've gone from being the next James Bond down to Big Panther now.
OK, well, we've got the Daily Mail now, and Sadiq Khan removed his pronouns from his bio, and his excuse for doing it all sounds like the doggy ate his pronouns, Kerry.
Yeah, he vows to return his controversial he-him gender pronouns to his ex-bio as he blames a technical error, which was very disappointing, because for a moment everyone thought he had grown up. But it turns out he hadn't. So it was a mistake. He took out the original bio read husband, father and mayor of the greatest city in the world, he, him, which kind of looks like he's saying the city is a bloke, right? This whole thing...
Possibly honestly, a Chinese bloke.
Yeah. A long time ago, I saw a clown performing and his trousers fell down, as they were meant to, and he's wearing those gaudy shorts that clowns wear, and the children were shouting, your trousers have fallen down. They went on for ages. He pulled them up and then didn't tie them, so they instantly fell down again. I feel like this is the same story. I feel like just for a moment he had his trousers up and then didn't realise, and it's really that. Why not be a mayor? That would be a good job for a mayor, wouldn't it? Rather than doing all this wordplay and getting rid of ladies and gentlemen because it's part of a drive for inclusivity. Describing it, we can't say illegal migrants. We have to say insecure immigration status or undocumented. This is laughable. Asylum seekers should be people seeking asylum.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Of course, it's the same thing. Men and women. Instead of men and women, say people or say Londoners. What if they're not from London? That's really rude. And also because it mustn't say male or female because it's dated and medicalised. Why is being a man or a woman medicalised? Did a doctor cause it?
It's nonsense. Also, Simon, I don't believe his excuse, this technical error that saw his pronouns deleted, because loads of politicians and people have removed their pronouns in the last few days since Trump ordered that federal employees should remove their pronouns.
It's very hard to judge whether he's made an early call thinking the whole pronoun thing is over, and now he's felt humiliated because people have mocked him for removing it, so he's going, no, I'm going to put it... But I have to... but underlying it, or like the rumble in the background is, it is over.
Yeah.
Pronouns are over. And only a year ago, I was thinking this was the brave new world I was going to either have to adapt to or die. You know, and in fact, no, it's all gone now, and I think he'll be one of the last to go. It's funny you mentioned that, the mayor of the greatest city in the world, he, him, the pathetic fool after that claim, which is perfectly accurate. London is the greatest city in the world. Historically, culturally, and in terms of the richness and variety of life here. It certainly, along with Paris and New York, those are the only competitors. To then put that little sort of trendy, nasty, small-minded little tribal allegiance with a very, very minority sliver of the population who give it so diminishes his potential status as somebody who should
unite and be for all Londoners. He's not. He's just for the ones with
him. He should be a lion.
And I've been saying for a while as well that there's a time in the future where you will see comedy shows portraying this particular era, and the pronouns will be one of the laughable things about it.
Absolutely.
I hope.
We've got the Daily Mail now, and Yvette Cooper is demanding that social media sites take down the videos that inspired the Southport killer. But as he seems to have been inspired by left-wing ideology around decolonisation and abolishing whiteness, won't Labour have to take down their own manifesto site?
Good point. I mean, I find it slightly problematic to think that just because one particularly bad and evil person has viewed something and taken something from it. I remember his name, Breivik, the Norwegian mass murderer, said that he got some of his ideas from Top Gear, if I remember rightly, you know, and you can never be sure what these people are going to watch. Obviously, I mean, I am against there being titillating, completely spurious video content online that just depicts horrific acts of violence just for the thrill of it. I'd be quite happy with a world where people didn't access that stuff, but because it specifically inspired him, I think that's potentially a dangerous route to go down. From what we can gather, he was at least to some extent activated by his awareness that his parents had fled a genocide in Rwanda. You can still see footage of that on the BBC. You know, there are documentaries on iPlayer, which I happen to think are particularly good as well. Corridors of Power is one of them. I don't think you can remove that stuff. If it's of news value, obviously there's a different kind of genre where things are created specifically for the purpose of making your flesh crawl. But I don't think that's exactly what was going on here.
No, it's just a bit like after the Charles Manson murders, saying we have to get rid of the Beatles. You know, we always make these connections, and they're not very useful because she's really angry about the fact that video that he watched is still up. It was a video of a knife attack on a bishop in Sydney. But how many knife attacks and murders and other crimes are on the internet? We're talking about in the millions. The choices there would have been huge. You can't remove all of that. And maybe we should look to other things like why Prevent didn't react, something actually solid. Why Prevent didn't react to endless clues that were showing someone had a very dangerous mindset. Along with that, I wonder about whether there's more danger from things like when I see people glorifying certain types of violence, like that killing of the CEO recently, who was an insurance, head of an insurance company, or even like with Hamas and the glorification I see across universities and so on of violence because it's resistance, and that
which ties
everything is resistance. resistance, which means horror.
Well, which ties in with this because, I mean, Axel Rudikabana openly stated that he said Britain needs a white genocide.
Yeah.
And he read a lot of material about decolonisation and abolishing whiteness, which is the same kind of material that's taught at those universities. This is part of the whole progressive left trend is for abolishing whiteness and decolonisation. And then professors celebrated the Hamas attacks, saying, "Oh, that's decolonisation." I think you know that really woke people up to, "Oh, that's what this far left ideology is. It's not this isn't sort of giving people some money or whatever. It's killing them."
That was a famous quote, wasn't it? Well, did you think decolonisation meant vibes, essays? It was like, no, you're absolutely right. And I think far more people are radicalised by that kind of debate and discussion and rhetoric than they are just by some off-colour video.
Yep, absolutely. We've got the Telegraph now, and it looks like it could be the end of the road for diversity, equity and inclusion. Is DEI going to DIE, Simon?
Yes, hopefully. This is, again, something which I think we're feeling is downwind of Trump. Which I've just said that out loud. But, it does feel like, again, the massive vibe shift. And, again, how long was it ever going to last? The companies in the most red in tooth and claw sector, the financial services industry, the Financial Conduct Authority, are demanding that they be allowed to act unencumbered by ridiculous human resources restrictions. They want to hire the best people. If those people turn out to be from minorities, wonderful. But if those people are not available, then they need to be able to hire the very best people, the people with the most venal, psychopathic attitude towards profit that they can possibly find. You know? And that doesn't always spread evenly across the various demographic groups.
No, it doesn't at all. I almost forgot that this has only been, the foot has only come down in America and we're still trying to push this desperately to the last moment. Here's the thing. If diversity is our strength, you don't need to push it. No. One company takes on as much diversity as possible. It sets the example. Everyone goes, well, they're doing well. Yeah, aren't they scoring well? They're amazing business. So, and then they all do it. It works automatically. If it is a strength, it proves itself. Yeah. You don't have to. The very fact you have to enforce it shows what nonsense that is.
Some companies really like the DEI regulations because it creates a barrier to entry. It increases the costs for companies to enter that space. So it solidifies their position. It also provides legal defensibility. If they're accused of any racism or whatever, they can say, no, we have this raft of DEI.
But it does something else as well. It means that workers don't want to feel that they're working for the man. And, if you're doing a job, enjoy your job, try and make the most of it. But what a lot of people want to feel now is they're doing something to change society whilst they're working in their office or the bank because they're making a difference. And really what this is down to is governments should just keep out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let the free market decide. Well, we're just going to squeeze this one in. We've got The Guardian now with scientific proof that women are evil.
Female narcissism is often misdiagnosed. How science is finding women have a dark streak too. Who didn't know that? Who is surprised by this article? And in this one, picture a psychopath. Who do you see in your mind's eye? Chances are it's a man. So they talk to
chances are you're married to them.
And they talk, obviously in films and so on, it's going to be a man, partly for a reason that the victim has to be vulnerable, so it's better if they're a woman. Also because the murderer tends to be a man.
Although in Disney movies you get Cruella de Vil and so on, don't you? For instance,
That's true.
Children are more realistic about these things.
but the article is really about narcissists and how common it is. And I didn't read the whole thing because it wasn't about me.
Yes. No, it's excellent. It's very funny. I like this particular line. Narcissistic women are abusing in ways that society allows. So they're not allowed to be kind of, like the classic psychopath. Instead, they whisper and they gossip and they undermine and they brief against you.
And they make you put your pronouns in your email.
Yes, exactly. But I do love the implication that even psychopathic women are bullied by society. We need to level it up and allow women more opportunities to be psychopathic in the traditional manner.
It's also, they say there's two different types of narcissists, one that applies more to women and one type that applies more to men. So even in narcissism, men and women are different.
Well, coming up in the final section, Network Rail get rid of passengers, what happened to push-up bras, and why everyone needs to be quiet. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, it's rather unsettled across the central Mediterranean. Heavy showers, rain in parts of Spain as well. But there are some drier spells. So across the Canary Islands, we'll see some showers. But across Gibraltar and the south of Spain, some outbreaks of rain here. An area of low pressure will bring some heavy showers and thunderstorms across central parts of the Mediterranean. But there will be some drier spells in between. And then looking ahead, well, plenty of sunshine on offer. And it should be feeling pleasant in that sunshine too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Estelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This was thought to be a Ruskin. Ruskin was a very considerable polymath, an artist as well as many other things. So, do you know why it was submitted for reappraisal? Was there a bit of a suspicion that it had been misidentified?
No, as you say, you know, it's a service that Christie's offer. You can submit an artwork that you have, so anyone can submit it and request an estimate, and then the auction house's appraisal service allows you space as well to describe it and ask for evaluation. And Christie's sort of looked at it behind the sheet of dirty old glass and recognised a sort of Turner-esque mood and feel and ambience about it. And because there was this close relationship between Ruskin and Turner, which is fascinating, we'll come on to that shortly, but they sort of felt, well, the brushstrokes are very strong, the line is very economic, and the colour of the palette seems to be rather Turner-esque. And then they called in a specialist paper historian who confirmed that actually the paper that was used was one that Turner favoured himself. So yes, it was originally considered to be by Ruskin, but then we discovered something more magnificent. And don't forget, what's really interesting, now it's for sale. The lucky buyer is not just buying a picture. The lucky buyer is buying a life story, a relationship that actually changed the course of art history because of the relationship between Ruskin and Turner themselves.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Express now with the latest on that bizarre and horrific crash between a plane and a Black Hawk military helicopter, Simon.
Have we? I have missed this one, sorry. Which one was that?
This is it here.
OK, thank you very much. Black Hawk Captain Rebecca Lobach is third pilot killed in American Airlines crash. A total of 67 people have been killed as a result, and it is still, obviously, the details are emerging. I think they have retrieved the black box, but they have not managed to isolate the information that they need. Obviously, to some extent, Trump has created a hostage to fortune with his fairly exuberant depiction of the suspects being DEI hires again, and
Well, I think the accusation of diversity and inclusion wasn't aimed so much at the pilots.
No, he thought that was in air traffic control.
Air traffic control as well. So, because the FAA, they changed the regulations to actually they had a hiring spree focused on people with severe psychiatric disabilities and dwarves.
But there
which
is
seems strange, you know. I mean, if you want somebody, you know, pushing airplanes around in the air, you don't want them to have severe psychiatric disorders. I'd have thought. I'm not an expert.
By the way,
they should not have been using any kind of protocols other than best for the job on this one. But there is no indication at all that air traffic control were to blame on this occasion. What does seem peculiar and odd is that it does map onto a deliberate strike, which is really alarming, and so I think that's what they're trying to get to the bottom of. But this latest pilot, it's not certain whether she was flying. I don't know that they have not actually announced or identified which of those capable pilots on board the helicopter was actually at the controls.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting they call him here. This is in the article. Former President Donald Trump has publicly blamed the helicopter, so they need to keep up with the time. Well, yes, I suppose he remains that as well.
He is the once and future king.
Well, even as former, he'd still be President Donald Trump. Right? So, now I do think his comments were probably inappropriate. Well, they were inappropriate straight after an awful incident like this. It wasn't the time to bring that up. Whether there's truth in it or not, we don't know who the actual air traffic controller was. And I only saw this on Twitter a while ago, on X, just before the programme. I don't know whether there's any truth in it, but apparently the FAA is being sued for denying the job to around about 1,000 candidates who might have been more qualified for it. But we don't know who they took or any more details. So I don't want to... This is speculation.
It's like the California firefighters all over again. We've got the Times now with Network Rail taking a break from cancelling trains to cancel a word, Simon.
Yes, they're no longer to use the word passenger, and initially my blood started to simmer, but actually reading through it, it's OK in this situation. This is during onboard announcements, and the point is they're not speaking in the passive voice anymore. They're going to address the people on board who've been affected. So it's rather than going, all services are currently cancelled, passengers may experience some delays and experience a heightened awareness of the irritability of the, you know. Instead of that, they're going to go, listen, I'm really sorry, guys, but there's a tree has fallen on the track and we're going to be stuck here for a little while. It's just an internal comm suggestion to say that you should try and use more natural language and not speak as though you were making pronouncements from some sort of abstracted third dimension. I think this is probably healthy. I think also I've noticed it happening anyway, to be honest. But it just encourages drivers and station announcers and so on to connect with people rather than retreating into legalese.
No, totally. But the announcement we want to hear is the trains are running on time.
Yes.
I don't care what wording you use to tell me I'm going to be held up for hours. The other thing they could get rid of, I'd really like to get rid of, is the next station stop. Why do they keep telling us it's the next station, which we assume we're stopping at, or the next stop, which is going to be a station? And get rid of H as well, the quiet coach. Why is it always in H so they can keep on keeping
the show is nearly over.
Let's do my last bit.
Let's take another quick look at Monday's page.
Passengers on the line.
EU warns Trump, we will not be bullied. The Times has French tell UK to eat humble pie on Brexit. The Eye has UK Iron Dome needed to guard against Russian missile attack. Defence Review set to warn. The Daily Mail has struggling businesses to pay the price of Starmer's Brexit reset. The Daily Mirror has 1,600 crimes linked to OnlyFans, and the Daily Star has squeaky blinders. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests Simon and Carey. Josh will be back in the hot seat tomorrow night at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans and Lewis Schaefer. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, then stay tuned for breakfast. Goodbye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's going to be increasingly wet and windy in the northwest, drier in the south before higher pressure builds midweek. Out there at the moment, we've got higher pressure towards the east, a weak frontal system to the west, but a squeeze in the isobars across the northwest of Scotland, so windier here. Clearer skies, though, across the southeast of England through this evening and overnight, holding on to this cloud across much of England and Wales further towards the west, but turning windy across Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Outbreaks of rain here. Mild for most, but across the far southeast of England, that's where we could see a touch of frost come Monday morning. So to start Monday morning then, it's a cloudy picture across much of Scotland. Out towards the west though, this is where we'll see the strongest winds. Coastal gales are possible with heavy spells of rain moving through. Cloudy across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning with some patchy outbreaks of rain. Across much of England and Wales though, it should be a largely dry start. There'll be a few drizzly patches at times, but a cold start across the far southeast. So as we go through Monday then, generally staying cloudy across much of England and Wales, with the cloud gradually moving its way into East Anglia. Across the far northwest though, it is going to be turning increasingly unsettled, heavy spells of rain and very strong winds and coastal gales. Highs though coming up at around 10 or 11 degrees. So as we go through into Tuesday, that band of rain will continue to slowly move its way south and eastward, so affecting much of northern England into Wales and the southwest. Ahead of that, often cloudy but dry, but some sunnier spells developing across Northern Ireland and Scotland and turning colder too. Higher pressure then builds on Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll start to see the return of overnight frost and fog. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you not one, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. A packed show tonight, including anti-racists attacked by anti-racists, government censorship in the wake of Southport, and assassinated for burning the Quran. Plus, a whole lot more culture war madness. But first, the news.
Very good evening to you. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. The Prime Minister says the UK will seek a strong trading relationship with the US as North America moves closer to a trade war. He was speaking during the visit of the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to Chequers, his country residence, ahead of meeting all 27 EU leaders at a summit in Brussels on Monday. Sir Keir has been urged to start talks on a new customs union with the EU in an effort to reset relations with the bloc.
What I want to see is strong trading relations, and in the discussions that I've had with President Trump, that's what we have centred on in those strong trading relationships. So it's very early days. I've been very clear since I became Prime Minister that I do want a reset of the relationship between the UK and the EU. That does not involve a return to the European Union. We had a referendum here on that, and that matter is